Well, welcome to the late edition of Pucknology After Dark. Not late in the sense that it's late outside, but late that it's a little after the game. Anyhow, I am joined by AJ Strong, and it's just going to be me and him tonight. So it's going to be mano y mano or mano and mano. I don't know what you would want to call it. So if you want to be part of the show, please use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark, and at Eric Landy and at AJ Strong are who you're tweeting at tonight. So I will bring in Mr. AJ Strong. AJ, what was your initial impressions of the game tonight? Oh, you're muted, buddy. There you go.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at something else. The first period, I had a bad feeling. I'm like, oh, fuck, we're going to lose this fucking game. And but as it went on, I was just kind of like, okay, the more this goes, the more it goes in the Sharks' favor. And then, of course, they got the goals. And then it was one of the best defensive performances from the Sharks I might have ever seen. I mean, they just completely shut down St. Louis, blocking shots, taking out lanes, keeping them to the outside. They got some looks here and there, but I was completely blown away by their defensive performance in the second half of the game.
Totally agreed. I mean, they played some stifling defense of the likes we have not seen, well, maybe ever. I mean, that was probably the most tight lockdown second and third periods I'd seen them play in a very long time. Maybe not until, maybe 2010, 2011. There were some pretty dominant defensive Sharks teams then with the Todd McCullough puck possession style. So they played a good game. They did let up as far as pressure goes in the offensive zone. But however, in the neutral zone and then defensive zone, they really stepped up. They made it like hell to get through the neutral zone tonight, which was really good. You saw some great things from the kids again. Donskoy looked really good. You had Thornton continuing, his hot streak, and just a good collective effort tonight. I think you had everybody chipping in, and there's one point that's kind of sore. So, I think we all need to kind of take a look at Patrick Marleau's game a little bit, because right now it's kind of sick. What do you think?
Actually, I thought tonight he started to turn it around. I mean, he had some spots where you saw him actually use that speed, move his feet. Bounce goes his way or the other way, and I think he probably puts one in and gets a helper. I actually, for the most part, I kind of like what we saw from Marleau tonight. He seemed to be a bit more engaged. The thing that stuck out to me tonight was, to me, it was an overall effort tonight. I mean, you got Nieto getting the insurance marker at the end, but it was still contributing. It wasn't letting up. And tonight, I felt like there wasn't anybody tonight where I was left wondering, where's this person? It seemed like everybody had a brief moment that they had stepped up, their name was mentioned or whatnot. I mean, it seemed just tonight everybody was involved. I hope to God that they cannot continue this on the rest of the road trip, because we know they got this swing through the Central is not going to be easy. So I hope they continue. Hopefully they learned a little bit from Anaheim. While we talked about that, yeah, there was a lack of puck luck, I still feel like there could have been a little more will to win against Anaheim. I felt there was some more. I didn't see the standing around tonight that I saw against Anaheim. So hopefully that'll take it. Now, granted, I rather would have had the Anaheim win versus tonight, just because of the Pacific Division foe and 4-point swing. But 2 points is 2 points, and taking 2 from the Central right now is pretty huge. So.
Definitely agreed. And just for everybody's kind of update, we've got Anaheim up 2-0 on the Kings with their 17:51 left in the second period. We've also got Chicago tied with Arizona 3-3 right now, and that's 16 minutes in third. 16 minutes in the third period.
I'd be interested to see what has happened in the Chicago Arizona game since the Coach Q meltdown. Like, has Chicago gotten an extra power play here, or I'm just interested to see what happened. For those of you who don't know, Coach Q had a meltdown when a call was overturned tonight. It was all over Twitter as a GIF video of it. It was spectacular. So if you get a chance to watch NHL Network tonight for the highlights, it should be pretty massive. But I'd be interested to see how that game got called after the meltdown, because Q just undressed those guys.
Yeah. We've also got Vancouver playing Columbus, and they're up 1-0 in Columbus right now. So, with the win, I think Anaheim could pull the Kings back into grasp for the Sharks again. And it's kind of funny because, there's this ebb and flow in the Pacific, and the race is starting to tighten up, especially with the three top teams. You've got Anaheim, San Jose, and LA, and you know what? The California teams are going strong now, and I think it's going to be us three in the end. And how it shakes out for who gets the top spot, who gets second and third, I think it's still up for grabs. And we still got a game in hand on the Kings. If Anaheim pulls it out tonight, that means you'll be within 7 points with a game in hand. So you could cut that down to 5 if you win the game in hand. So that top spot in the Pacific is not, it's still up for grabs. It's not out of reach. Although, you wonder about who's coming out of the Central in the wild card. So is that first spot really the most advantageous spot to, continue your playoff berth? I don't know. That's up for debate.
I know. I'll take the number 2 slot, easy peasy. When you consider that the LA Kings the leaders of the Pacific wouldn't even be in the top 3 of the Central right now.
So we've got some breaking news. Anaheim just scored again. It's now 3-0, 17 minutes left in the second, and Quick just got pulled.
Oh, boy, that must have been fun to watch. And remember, we have one more game left against LA back at the Tank next month. So it'll be fun to see where the standings shake out at that point, to see how huge that 2 points one way and 2 points the other way go. Yeah, looking at that schedule, I'm telling you. And we still get the how many more games do we have against Arizona? 4 more?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it is just take care of the Pacific. I mean, you've got Calgary. You're hosting Calgary next week. Then you have, next weekend at home, Calgary and Arizona. 2 huge games. Then starting at the end of the month, just the day before the trade deadline, you've got 3 games in a week against Vancouver. I mean, you win all 3 of those. That's going to be a healthy little jump from the end of February to the end of the first week of March. So it's time to take these points in the Pacific, because they're very gettable.
Yeah, they are very gettable. And it just goes to show you, man, if you're in it in February and you can keep up the pace, nothing's out of the question here. I just, that very beginning of the game, you saw the Sharks getting hemmed in their own end quite a bit by that Blues team, and it just reminded me of LA's style. And I just wonder how much this team can compete with LA and that big body presence. And that's always worried me. This team San Jose looked like it got pushed around a little bit on the puck tonight. They were very dogged in pursuit and they would get it back, but the faceoffs weren't great. And,
face-off was awful tonight.
And they just looked like it just looked like they were getting pushed around a lot.
No, they were, the face-offs were not helping. I felt the reason why I had that bad feeling in the first is they were getting pushed around, but it was also they seemed to be losing the possession battle for most of that first period. They started to come around towards the end of the first, but for the most part, they just couldn't get anything going their way. And then the second period comes, and they seem to settle down a little bit. and their face-off percentage, I believe, got a little bit better in the second. Things started to go their way, and they started to take possession but drive the play into their offensive zone, which they just were not doing in the first. And kudos to them that they're coming around, or I feel like we see it more this season than we did last year, where if they got pushed around in the first, second was always you'd either see a complete collapse, or they'd they get you a little bit interested and then they'd fold in the third. But they're tonight, like I said, I'm just really impressed with the defensive effort. They kept coming in that they just were unrelenting in the defensive play and wouldn't let them get off a good shot. I'm just so impressed by that, where it was just, no, we're not taking our foot off the gas, not in an offensive way, but in a defensive way, which was just massive for me. Like we said, I can't remember the last time I've seen something like that from them.
Yeah, I mean, that first was a little shaky, and then they came back, and it just kind of looked like they counteracted the physicality with dogged pursuit of the puck. And I like that, and you're starting to see that this team's forming an identity, and it's basically not being pushed around. If it is, then you know what, they'll try and regroup. That game against Anaheim, they could have easily folded up in the first, but they didn't, and they stayed around, they stuck around. So that was a good sign out of that game. So in previous years past, it probably would have taken maybe 2 or 3 games for them to really get out of an all-star break, and get their feet back. But I really think that they got their feet back in the second period tonight, and you know what, they're going to be. I think they're going to be okay. And if they can pull out 500 on this little mini road trip, I'll be happy with that. You've got 4 really good teams. You've got Nashville and Chicago coming up. Those are not going to be easy games. There's no easy game, but they're not going to be, you're not going to be able to grab a lot of points for anybody going in there. 5 out of 10 times, you're probably going to end up with a split, if you're doing well. So,
yeah, I'll even, I wouldn't be happy with it, but if they pulled out a 2-1-1 or something, that would be nice. Yeah. Just any points you can get at any point, I'll take it. Since there is only the 2 of us, should probably hit any of the comments on the in the Google chat or on Twitter, and contributor to Pucknology, Felix, saying, do you guys see Zubris eventually taking fourth line minutes away from Brownie anytime soon? Yeah, like 2 games ago soon. Yeah. He's doing it. That's what he's doing. And you consider how much better the Sharks' penalty kill has been since Zubris has come in place of Brownie. Because Zubris can take those minutes on the PK. We all know Brownie can't. The last time he did, we all remember what happened.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see Zubris really exert his will on the PK. You're also seeing Couture now being injected onto the PK, which is a good sign for him and his reacclimation to that part of the game. And I don't see a need for them to put Mike Brown in when they're winning. I think you only kind of go to that card if you've got a consistent meltdown or a consistent lag, when you need some energy and you want to put somebody new in. I think that's the only time that you really put him in. And maybe if you're playing against a heavy team like an LA, you might want to have him on there. But
I don't want to do that, because to me, that is what you're essentially saying when you put Brown in against LA is you're saying, yeah, LA, we're letting you dictate our game. I don't want to play that. Well, I want to say, no. We're going to dictate this. We're going to put in offensive weapons and make you try to stop us, instead of this whole let's get into a hitting contest because that's the kind of game you guys like. That's what I want to see from the Sharks the next time they face LA. is you play our game. We're not going to play yours.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. It's just with this team and the lack of physicality that it shows now. I mean, because we had a tough time with St. Louis. I just wish they had maybe one or two bangers either on the blue line or, somewhat halfway skilled forwards that aren't afraid to put the body, on the line. You thought you might have gotten that a little bit with Ward, but you know what? He hasn't really shown that part of his game yet. I know he did in Washington, but he hasn't really shown that here. And you're kind of just waiting, Cody James puts in, he misses Murray. Yeah, I mean, I miss Murray for that too, because he'd always lay out a big hit, and you know what? You wouldn't take liberties with the players. I do like the fact that these players seem to want to play for each other and seem to get up in the grill of people when they take extra liberties, which is a good thing. You didn't always see that.
And it seems to be that you're seeing it more and more. You're seeing Hurdle throwing a punch here. You're seeing Wingle's really stepping up sometimes. So they definitely feel like they want to play for each other. That's I'm definitely getting that feeling. Going back to the Google chat though, St. Owen pointing out 7 for 21 in the offensive zone faceoffs. So that's unacceptable. You have to work on that pretty damn quick. You fix that problem. But the fact that they were able to overcome that and still pull out the W, that's you got to at least like that part of it. And then Molerat 33 saying, look at the time on ice tonight. It's amazing how much more balanced it is without people only playing 4 or 5 minutes a night. I think Molerat is overestimating Brownie a little bit. He rarely he doesn't break the 4-minute mark that often. But of course, yes, that's huge. You're seeing the Sharks actually being able to roll 4 lines, not 3.5.
Definitely
plugging people in.
Yeah, and you're not seeing Marlowe, getting extra shifted on there. You're not seeing Thornton or Pavelski getting extra shifts, and you know what? It just balances out, and it keeps the guys from burning the top players out. Going back to faceoffs, though, the Sharks have now slipped to 7th in the faceoff department. They were 3rd, and were 3rd by a pretty healthy margin. Now, mind you, they're only out of the 3rd position by 0.4%, but still, that's a pretty big shift since the end of the All-Star break. You've got St. Louis, who's at 13th, so middle of the pack, and they're only at a 50.1% clip. So that does concern you, and you do got to wonder, maybe that's kind of a timing thing as well, and maybe we'll start to see it pick up a little bit in the future games. Slushy Jake saying 0 power play goals and killed off all the penalties. True, but that 4-on-4 goal was, I would count a power play. It wasn't, of course, it was going to be an even strength goal, but it was right between the 2 power plays that they had. They had just come off of their 4-on-3, and I mean, within a second, Thornton, gets that threaded pass, and I think even Randy had been saying that the offender had just got on the ice when they scored that goal. So I would count that as a power play goal. I think the power play looked good. I think the penalty kill was good. They had a couple of crossbar helpers. You got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. So, you take those like you can. Jones played a pretty good game tonight.
I thought he was really solid. I thought he came up with some huge saves. I mean, that first goal, the only goal that got by him tonight, got a weird deflection and took a weird hop. I mean, show me the goaltender that's going to make a stop on that. That was just a fluky goal. Whereas the first 2 that Elliott let in, I mean, obviously with the Thornton one, you got him moving laterally, but that just squibbed in through the 5-hole. And Donskoy just picked his spot and said, try to stop it. And he couldn't. So, no, I was really happy with Jones tonight.
Yeah. You had posted a .963 save percentage, stopped 26 of 27 shots tonight. So, there was he kept them in very early. You've got you've got St. Louis who are really pressing in that first period, and Jonesy kept them in. So that's all you can ask. He didn't let any softies in. He looked pretty rejuvenated. I personally think that the coaching staff rode him a little too hard. But when you've got Stalock as your backup, I understand why they did it, but still, it's a little concerning.
You damn straight. That's the thing that I still get nervous about is, are the Sharks wearing out Jones? Obviously, we just came off a week, with essentially 5 days off. Then you get at Anaheim, at St. Louis. I can't see why he doesn't start Nashville and Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you give Stalock a look against Calgary or Arizona, but if I'm the coach, I can't, because those are huge points, because they're divisional points. So I think the next time I even consider starting Stalock is probably going to be against Carolina, but that's in 2 weeks from now.
But Carolina's even playing well. I mean, in the stretch drive, you can't have an off night from your goaltender. And right now, I think that Calgary game is probably the most ripe spot, because you've got the most points on Calgary at this moment. It is an in-division game, but you gotta hope that somehow Stalock finds his game. And I'm not holding my breath here, but you just gotta wonder if he can find it in him to get in a rhythm here.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe you go Stalock against Calgary, and then you let Jones do every game on the road, including the back-to-back, and then you give Calgary, or you give Stalock against Buffalo at the end of the month.
Holy shit! This Chicago-Arizona game is crazy. It's now 4-4 with 8 minutes left. Chicago went up 4-3. And Arizona just answered them back within a minute. And apparently Hampus Lindholm got wrecked by Kopitar. Yeah. So,
and in this game, see, that's the whole thing. The games tonight, it's really like, I want everyone to lose. I mean, Arizona, Chicago, I want them both to lose. LA and Anaheim, I want them both to lose. But if I have to choose, I guess you have to root for Chicago, because Arizona's only a couple points behind you, and you have to. Geez, I almost want to root for LA in this game, just because it keeps Anaheim back. Like, I don't mind seeding the Pacific Division. I'll take the number 2 spot. So I guess I got to root for LA tonight. Oh, excuse me, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit having to say that.
Oh my God, yeah. No, that's just a lose-lose. You kind of just want that game to be postponed, or tie, a tie, for Christ's sake. Apparently it was Lindholm hit Kopitar and Lucic drilled Lindholm from behind. So I wonder
what a shock.
Yeah, we were talking about Lucic at the game against Anaheim, and that guy. It's just like, he loves to give crap, but he can't take it. And when somebody decides to give it back to him, he cries like a little baby. So,
he's a bitch. He's a bitch.
Yeah. People have been commenting quite a bit on here, and I think it's time to kind of take this issue head on. Let's talk about the redesign of NHL.com. So I don't know if you've had the pleasure of taking a look at the new NHL redesign, but it's extremely different. And right now it's taking me some time to get used to the whole setup. And to be quite honest, it's pretty convoluted. I mean, I originally thought that the regular NHL website was convoluted, but this gets even worse. I think NHL pre-SAP was okay. NHL after SAP was a tire fire. And this is even worse. I mean, it's
NHL.com and ESPN. I don't know if you've looked at ESPN recently. ESPN has also apparently gone through a bit of an update recently, and it's all tire fire, because it's all this, I mean, we kind of covered it last show, where it's this whole idea of trying to design for everything on a mobile platform and making everything look like fucking BuzzFeed, and it just doesn't work on certain platforms. Sure, it'll work, but oh, you've got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah, I mean, just to find the box score, when I go to scores on the NHL, and if I click on the Sharks at the Blues, it will give me the rundown. But if you go on the front page of the website and you go to the Sharks versus Blues game breakdown, you can't get to the box scores from the main website and from the main, page. So it's like, it's so backwards in its design. I know the whole leaving white space on a web page is the new it thing right now, but I'm not a fan of that. And it just looks poorly designed. It's like,
no, it looks no. It doesn't look poorly designed. It looks poorly designed for a web page. It looks fine on a mobile device. This is the problem. They keep trying to design everything for a mobile platform, and of course, that has its place. It wouldn't surprise me if one of the reasons why you're seeing this is because they've looked at their stats and they're seeing that, you know what, we're getting more hits on mobile platform by a large margin than we are through computers. So, okay, let's just design directly for them. But I'm looking at this, I just went to NHL.com and I'm looking at the scores. There is so much goddamn white space in here. It's ridiculous. But if you tighten everything up, like you would on a mobile platform, then it's like, oh, okay, now it looks fine. All of a sudden, all that white space disappears. They have to go back, like we said, where you just have the sniffer script in there, and it directs you to. It just finds out what you're surfing the site on, and it directs you one or the other. But you have to optimize it for your audience and what they're using.
Agreed. And so going from the webpage now to the NHL.tv application, I don't know, have you ever used Game Center Live before?
No. Just if I want to watch every goddamn game on the planet, I just go with Center Ice.
So I have both, and the primary reason I use the NHL.tv app now is for when I'm at either coming home from the office or trying to out and about and trying to catch a game here and there. And the immediate first reaction is I can't even log into my account. And it's so bad because they don't even use your username now, because my username had always been Eric Landy, just Eric Landy, no dashes or whatever. And that was the username, and I could always type that in the main page and get in. But now it's requiring you to use your email address. And I've had like 3 different NHL accounts, and it's like I can't remember which email address I logged into and bought the stupid application on. So it's like I'm trying and going through all of these different email addresses. So finally I get it to work. And what do you know? The IP address for my office Wi-Fi is set to San Jose. And the first thing it does is screams out, I'm blacked out.
Yep.
And that's a problem that we've always had with NHL, with any NHL on device, or on web page streaming. We've always had that problem. But it's just now they're strictly enforcing via IP ranges instead of doing the extra mile and kind of figuring out where your traffic is being routed to, right? Because it goes through some server through San Jose and then beams down to San Diego. So it used to be the old app used to know that I was in San Diego and I could watch it and be fine, but now it doesn't. So it's using the MLB.TV architecture, and that's just the way that they do it, but it's kind of shitty.
Well, what's going to fix all this is when next October, September, very beginning of October, when they see a pretty big decline in people ordering NHL.tv, which I'm assuming has replaced Game Center. Uh, when they see that huge decline in subscriptions, then they'll do something about it.
So St. Owen is saying NHL lost a lawsuit and they can no longer do local blackouts on Game Center. They can do it on center ice, but they're no longer legally allowed to black out online. I don't know about that ruling. I think the thing that I remember coming out of that ruling was you had to be able to give a user a team by team package. You couldn't just package the whole league into one thing anymore, and you had to give a discount if you just wanted the one team. I remembered that, but I don't remember about the whole blackouts and if they got rid of it. I know the NFL is going through that right now, and they've kind of just started to eliminate the blackouts. MLB is probably going to be moving to that model as well.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. There, as far as I know, I mean, well, let's be honest. Hockey people were kind of a different breed, but when it comes to most people, they typically follow one, maybe two teams. If I was relocated to Colorado or I mean, just wherever, if I had to move up to Portland or something, I wouldn't want to have to purchase a $400 package just to watch every 49er game. I wouldn't want to have to purchase a $400 package just to watch every Giants game when that's all I want to watch. I don't care about the Cubs Orioles, or you know what I mean? It's like
right.
they need to figure out a way to have a like an a la carte system where it's like I'm willing to pay, let's say $80, and you give me just this one, all of the games from this one team. Those can't be blacked out. I get to watch that every time, whether it's on a mobile device or on my TV, whatever. Because that's typically what people are. You know, my buddy who lives here, massive Broncos fan, and so he buys the NFL package so he can watch every Broncos game. Now, granted, him and a bunch of guys, they do fantasy, but I asked him, I'm like, if you didn't play fantasy, would you give a shit about anything else in the Broncos? He goes, no, I would just watch Broncos games and that's it. So, but he's got to pay that $400 package for the red zone thing and the fantasy channel and all that shit. And I get that. That's cool. But there should be some sort of option that you can just say, here's the one team I want to watch. Give me a far discounted rate. Just unlock that for me. I don't care about the other teams.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, right now they do offer a rate, a different rate if you just get one team, and that was new for this year, and that was actually a part of the lawsuit. So they have to provide that service where it's just the one team. However, local blackouts still apply, and the discount, and the discount is less than, I want to say, 20%. And it's like, look, if let's just use. Let's just use math for a moment and say it should be 1/30th the cost, because you're not watching the 29 other teams unless the Sharks are playing those teams. So let's, for the sake of argument, let's just say now it's 1/15th now. And that should be how much you pay for that package for that set of teams.
Well, and let's just also use math too. If you don't provide a package that works for me, you get $0 of my dollars. That's pretty much, that's the most basic math. And let's be honest, there are streams out there to be had. There's plenty of ways that you can go to watch a stream for free online. Yeah. Is it a little bit, sometimes can it be a little bit of a hassle to find the stream, or is it going to be completely stable the entire time? You might get a pop-up ad once in a while. Well, okay, that's what you deal with when you're paying $0 for it. So
it looks like we've got Puck Guy joining us. Puck
Guy live from Bart.
So, what was your initial thoughts of the game? Did you happen to see any of it?
I happened to go through the highlights. The highlights that you're kind of allowed to have on the NHL app. A good solid win, another victory that helps out immensely. A nice pick me up. I think the Winnipeg game afterwards that that they fell downward and knew that they could have played better, but I mean, they're in a stretch where they haven't been playing too badly, and to get all but 4 points outside of a perfect record is pretty good in this last stretch.
Yeah, hey Eric, you might want to switch over. Just turn your leave your audio on, but turn your cam off because that's kind of it was distorting a little bit. And let's be honest, nobody wants to stare at your chin butt the whole time.
Also, I would say put in a pair of headphones if you've got them. We were hearing the BART info.
We know what station you're coming up to, buddy. We know where you're at.
We do know where you're at.
We have your location.
So, getting back to our conversation, yeah, the whole system is convoluted. It's going to get ironed out. It's going to be better. And, the one good thing I can say right now is the video quality was actually really good. I mean, it looked noticeably better than the NHL's previous Game Center offering.
You got to throw up some screenshots when you get a chance.
I will, but unfortunately, because of that whole issue with trying to get the stream into via the office Wi-Fi, I kind of had to use my cell phone, and so I streamed the game from my cell phone, and it looked really good. However, I didn't have it up on somewhere where I could take an easy screenshot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know what? It's kind of how the MLB.TV app, when it first came out, it was kind of crappy, and it got better and got better, and now it's getting J.D. Power Associate Awards here and there because it's so good. So, you just got to hope that the...
Well, it's one of those times. They flipped the switch. Give them... It's that idea of just give them the rest of the season to work out the kinks, and hopefully they have their shit together when the 16-17 season starts.
Yeah, I think, to be quite honest, I think it was kind of a misstep for them to implement this after the All-Star game.
Absolutely.
It should have been rolled out in the off-season and should have been, really
for
a staggered
preseason.
rollout. Yeah,
well, staggered preseason. Yeah,
exactly. And, now we've got problems where you can't see archived games. And I've had a couple people on Twitter kind of go back and forth and say, hey, look, I can't get to archived games that were pre-MLB media takeover. And so it's like, look, guys, you've got this back catalog of games that people want to still watch, and you're not getting it to work. You're having server back-end issues where it just totally collapsed on Tuesday night. And it's like, somebody did not do their homework when they were putting this product together to do it in the middle season. Heck, yeah. Even if they rolled it out for the All-Star game itself and used the All-Star game as a test bed,
yeah,
and tried it that way. They had a week to do this. I don't understand why they did it the way they did it.
Yeah, maybe it was a case of they wanted to start it at the beginning of this season, and it was enough screw ups at that point that it took them this long that they thought that, oh, okay, now we're okay to this. Who knows? It's just, like I said, it's new. Let's see what happens come this October when people are paying money full season and all that. So.
Yeah, and one cool thing that I do know about the MLB Extra Innings package and their MLB.TV, if you buy Extra Innings on DirecTV, you get MLB.TV for free. So hopefully when AJ and I renew our NHL Center Ice packages, because I have that too from DirecTV, we'll get the app for free because it is MLB Advanced Media is doing. That's how they've always done it. Well, actually, started last year, but now we get both. You get the app and you get the TV offering.
Yeah,
so,
to be honest with you, I never understood why they weren't both bundled to begin with. But anyway, let's get to the Google and Twitter here. St. Owen wondering about... have you guys heard about a possible shakeup where the Sharks and Barracuda have let go of some of their marketing and or sales staff?
Yes, me and Buckeye did talk about this. So, did you know anything, AJ?
No, it's the first I've heard of it. I can't say I'm surprised.
So apparently there was a ticket rep, and Eric will probably have his name. I can't really remember, but we were approached by some people from the Teal City crew, and they were saying that their longtime ticket rep had been let go. There wasn't even any kind of statement given to them or whatever. It's just the account got switched from different salespeople, and they got a phone call saying that their rep had been let, basically they weren't being represented by the same guy, and now they've got new representation. So, I mean, you've got to wonder when the Sharks brought the Baby Sharks, the Worcester Sharks, over, they kept a lot of that same framework and a lot of the same staff over from that move. You got to wonder now if they're starting to try and integrate some things, or could this be a shakeup in the sales and PR departments? We don't really know. But again, we do know that somebody had lost their job who had been a ticket rep for a while with the Sharks. So, it's sad to see that, and
Well, it's sad to see, but I can understand it if you've got multiple people all doing the same job. When you've got 10 people doing the job that 7 people could do handedly, then yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, really, if a current Sharks rep is given another 10 people or 20 people to look after for their Barracuda stuff. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know the inner workings or what's going on in the background, but if you've got a lot of people that don't have enough work to do, but they're all kind of doing the same job, yeah, people are going to get let go. So,
yeah, and again, I'm not privy to. First off, I can't remember the ticket rep's name, and that's my bad. But not privy to
probably not better to throw anybody under the bus anyway.
Right. We got a question.
But here's the other thing, guys. Sorry.
Go ahead, Eric. Do you remember the ticket name?
Do
you remember the ticket rep's name?
Riddell Wilson.
Riddell Wilson.
Riddell Wilson, yeah.
Isn't he the quarterback for Seattle?
Uh-oh, we're losing Eric.
Well, you make one joke and you ruin his connection.
Yes, Slushy Jake, that is correct. It is Riddell Wilson.
Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, I guess we're going to have to wait until Eric gets into it.
Again,
go ahead, Puck guy.
Motions.
Oh, he thinks he is going ahead, but he's intermittent. That's the problem.
Yes.
This sucks.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
The new iPhone 7 brought to you by AOL.
We're going to Chester Chivo's question. He had a good question. Thoughts on the Weidman ruling? It's kind of, I don't know if you saw the hit, if you were up to speed on it.
Oh yeah, no, I saw it all, and that was actually the next thing I was going to was about the Weidman ruling. Without being on the ice or at that game and actually witnessing like how completely just hammered Weidman was in that situation, we don't know what was going on in his head, but he looked really, really cloudy after that hit. And he seemed to be kind of looking down as he's going towards the bench and kind of looked up at the last second, noticed the official there. Maybe that was just muscle memory kicking in, or just self-preservation. I don't know. Honestly, I think there can be a debate made both ways, that it was kind of vicious, but there was a guy who was groggy and just trying to protect himself. But to the point of 20 games for that, to me, that is the NHL bending over for the officials. I think that should have been 5 games tops, because I mean, he apologized to the official like right after. He called the official like the next day to apologize. I mean, there was clearly no intent to harm this guy. So I think 20 was just kowtowing to the officials, and that's how I feel. I think it's way too much. I think 5 games would have been fine. I think 20 is just to suck off the officials and who was it? It wasn't, I don't know that it was Baker. I don't know if it was on TSN, but somebody had made a great point of that. Could you imagine if the official, say it was 5 games and all of the officials thought that was bullshit, that it wasn't enough, then imagine what officiating is for the next 5 games. All of a sudden could shit start happening and being gotten away with that wasn't getting away with before, or if they just start calling every ticky-tack thing and just ruining the game. Like, there is a way for them to kind of boycott without boycotting, if you understand what I'm saying, but to definitely make their feelings known that they didn't think 5 games was enough. So to me, like I said, it's sucking off the officials to placate them. I think should have been 5 games.
Okay, so you kind of got to remember that prior to when he had the hit, he did get hit before, and that's kind of what caused the concussion. He looked back at the ref, visibly upset, started skating back, and then saw the ref at the wrong time while simultaneously hitting him. So it's very, very tricky that the way that they're going to handle this. And you've got to wonder, well, if he was concussed, then why wasn't he taken off the ice and gone through the entire concussion protocols? He played after that, after that incident, and he was on the ice after that incident. The NHLPA and the coaching staff and the organization as a whole from the Flames have said repeatedly he had a concussion. So then why was he playing? And there have been things floated about on the Merrick vs. Wyszynski podcast today saying that, well, could it have been that the spotter in the stands who's supposed to be there by the NHL mandate got overruled, and apparently did something go down where he called down and said, hey, look, you might want to check him. I think in the end what you'll see is the concussion will help the appeal process. Exactly what Fusion 86 says, the concussion will help the appeal process.
Yeah, of course.
I think it probably gets dropped down to 10, not by Bettman, but by a neutral arbitrator, only because Bettman is trying to appease the refs union.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately Calgary will be getting a fine for playing a player with the concussion. And I think that that's going to be the end of it. Now, Weidman is really lucky that he's got this concussion excuse, because if he didn't, boy, it'd be a whole nother kind of argument that we're talking about. We were talking maybe throwing on even more games.
Well, now, see, I don't know what happened earlier in that game. All I saw was the hit he took. He gets up. He's groggy as shit trying to get back to the bench. He hits the linesman on his way there. Now, I'm seeing that there was some shit that happened earlier in the game that Weidman maybe wasn't happy about, wasn't thrilled about. So maybe that's coincidental of what happened, or maybe he did what he did because of that. Either way, the fact that is, from everything that I had read about it, is that Weidman was trying to go out of his way to apologize to the linesman, to explain himself, called him the next day. Not that is, if you go and kill somebody, if you, call their family that night, and then again the next morning, say, oh, I'm really sorry about that. Yeah, it doesn't really help, and obviously I'm blowing that out of proportion, but it's typically if a player is out to get somebody in a situation or make an example, typically you're not apologizing right, like seconds afterwards. So I think I would give Weidman the benefit of the doubt, and I think you're right. I think 10 games is going to end up being it.
Yeah, and I think it was Cody James said that he's hit a ref before. I don't know. I thought he didn't have a history.
Neither did I.
So if he did hit somebody before, then that's bad. But the example that was brought up to me was the Vancouver Canucks versus the Sharks, I think, and it was when actually maybe it wasn't the Sharks, but I know it was Vancouver Canucks, and it was it was one of their players hit a ref and he didn't get anything, and it was a preseason. So
yeah, well, you never know.
I think it was Yannick Hansen or something.
What?
Dude, your connection is still bad, bro. It's still bad. Let's go to the Google chat. St. Owen saying if a player is out to get somebody, he's not going to go after a linesman. I don't know if some of the things that are on the Google chat, I don't know if they're directed towards us or towards there's a conversation happening that we're not focused on. But to me, if a player is if I'm out to get when I've played softball or other sports, I mean, not that I've like gone and run people, but let's just say that when I've played some organized sports, that if anybody was wearing a shirt that was black and white, and I had an incident with somebody in a shirt that was happened to be black and white earlier, that's all I cared about. It didn't have to be the one who made the call. It was just kind of like, okay, you guys are going to rule like this, then maybe we're going to play a little harder, a little more edgier, and see what happens. So, like I said, I don't know if that's about that. But anyway, yeah, I just go back to it. I think 10 games is it. I think that's... I don't know that it's fair, just because of what you had said, Landy, and kind of echoed what I'd heard, is that I don't know that Weidman has a history of, it's not like he's a Lucic kind of guy where he kind of, or a Burrows or a Kessler or pretty much any Vancouver Canuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't have a history of being a douche that I'm aware of. Now, that's not to say that I'm not mistaken about that. Maybe he does, and I'm just unaware. But, yeah, I can see it going to 10 because of a lack of reputation, the concussion, and it's just to placate the Officials Association. I think we've kind of run this into the ground. So
agreed. I think we're kind of just spinning our wheels here. It was Yannick Hansen hitting a linesman is what I was thinking. And that was
Yannick Hansen. Let me see. Who does he play for? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You'll just follow the apple back to the tree, and you can see that whole organization is let's not even get in there.
Just to quick point, just to make Chris really happy, because then he'll know that this is like the end all be all of this whole topic ever done. Apparently, if you point out the hypocrisy of somebody who watches the Sharks and comments about them constantly on Twitter, and if you point out their like hypocrisy, that they're tired of seeing people bitch about the Sharks, that I'm tired of whiny bitch Sharks fans bitching about the same things over and over, yet that person bitches over and over about putting Burns at forward or putting Brown, scratching Brown and putting him on the bench. Apparently, when you point out that hypocrisy, you get unfollowed. So I just wanted to put that out there. That can happen. When you point out somebody's hypocrisy, they'll unfollow you. Funnily enough, like a whiny bitch. It's very convoluted.
Well,
just wanted to point that out. I got a big kick out of that.
Yeah, well, it's. You know what? My approach to social media is this, and I think this is where I go. If I don't think I could say the same things face to face, I won't say it online.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much the same way. And you also use that tried and true rule of thumb is that no matter what happens on social media, it's like running in the Special Olympics. Win or lose, you're still retarded. So,
yeah. You can't please everybody all the time, and you nor should you try. because there's always going to be somebody that's going to be hurt by what you say. And even if it's the best intentions, somebody's still going to try and find something wrong with your argument or something wrong with your statement. So, you know what? It's, you try and do your best, and that's it. We do have a Slushy Jake question. He does get his one per show. So he asks, what is the best Sharks player goal celebration in team history? This is actually a pretty good one, and I've got a good one. But AJ, go ahead.
I don't care. I really don't care. I mean, that's not really something that I've ever paid attention to throughout the years. I'm just happy that, like, usually I'm too busy, like, dun, 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 hey, or dun, 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 hey, dun, 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 hey. But yeah, I don't know. I'm usually too excited to be sitting there worried about how they celebrate. I mean, there's a couple. Are we talking like one in particular, or are we talking about a player that, like, it's their consistent go-to move?
Whatever. But I think it's whatever.
I think I remember Roenick having one or two that were pretty fun, especially when he what was his celebration for when he broke? I remember him breaking some record or hitting a major milestone, like a 600th goal or whatever it was. But the look, because it was one of the flukiest goals I've ever seen. But the fact that he got it was like off the half boards. It like squibbed in. Might have been against Arizona. Or honestly, I can't remember. But either way, it was a really fluky goal that was a milestone. And as a celebration, it was just the quizzical look on his face. But for me, probably Hurdle. I just love that kid. He's just fun to watch. But honestly, I can't. Okay. Thornton sliding on his back on the ice. There you go. That was my favorite one.
Oh yeah, that's always a good go-to. I've got one that's a really good one and one that's kind of psycho. So the first one I will go to is Hurdle's fourth goal against New York Rangers when he put Marty Biron into the retirement home.
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
Just the sheer joy that was on his face, and you saw him with Burns and Thornton. That is the most happiest group of guys I had ever seen on the ice. And I had seen series victories against LA. I've seen, victories, that were insurmountable. And that kid, when he scored that goal, those guys just lit up. And in that instant, you saw why Thornton and Burns both play the game. And those don't come very often. And those times when the sheer joy comes through on TV, through to your heart and through to you, are amazing. And I think that if you saw that game on TV or if you saw that game in person, I think it'll kind of always be with you as the time you really saw Thornton and Burns and Hurdle just love what they do.
Yeah, I'm seeing some other ones pointed out on Twitter. When Couture Kaepernicked, that was pretty good. There was another one. I have a vague recollection. Didn't Thornton? I think it was Thornton. Didn't one time he score a goal and then he blew a kiss?
Yeah, that was in LA. That was that LA series. They were in LA, and I think it was. Oh boy, it wasn't the game that he slid, but I think it was game 5, I want to say, and he blew a kiss to somebody in the LA crowd and they banged on the glass. it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Yeah. But my crazy story though is Ben Eager. And when he tackled Luongo and he put that goal in against the Canucks in the Western Conference Finals, and he just looked apeshit, and he was the only one celebrating. Everybody else on the ice were like, "Oh my God, this guy's a psycho."
Well, actually, I don't know that any Sharks have done it. I'm sure it's probably happened, but I've seen a couple videos. I wish I could remember who the teams were, what level it was, whether it was junior, AHL, or I don't think I've ever seen it in the NHL, but I've seen a couple times where it's a goal that happens inside of a scrum in the blue paint right in front of the goalie. It finally goes in, and the dude who scored, and and there's just a massive humanity in front of the goaltender. And what ends up happening, the guy scores it. He gets so excited, he turns around, he just hugs the nearest guy, and it's like a guy from another team.
Yeah,
and you see the guy from the other team go, "Get the fuck off me."
Yeah.
Oh my god, those are hysterical. I'm sure Chivo or Gen X or someone has a GIF on that, but oh my god.
Patrick M chimes in, Generation X-Wing. What's your favorite stick tape rap pattern on a Sharks player's stick?
No, dude, Gen X just sort of, what is your favorite Sharks player's favorite sandwich to order? Dude, slushy, dude, we got to get you like a trivia book or some shit, man, or not a trivia book. We got to get you we should be writing all these down.
Yeah.
And just have we should have a Slushy Jake page on Pucknology that answers all of these questions. Everyone, we just write it down and then we post the answers the next day. That would be cool.
That would be pretty cool. I think we could get Eric on board with that one.
Molerat pointing out Havlat flipped off the LA crowd after a goal. That was he's not the first one to pull that off. I'm sure that I'm pretty sure that I've seen a couple like static photographs of people with just throwing up the one digit salute saying how you doing with that.
Yeah. Let's give a final update on some scores right now. Chicago wins in overtime 5-4 against Arizona. So Arizona,
fucking serious. So they get a goddamn charity point, motherfuckers.
They get a charity point. Right now it's the end of the second, and Anaheim is leading the LA Kings 4-1.
Wow.
And you've got Columbus tied Vancouver with 10 minutes left in the third. So, you know what? Go Pacific against the Pacific. So Columbus.
Chris JWS getting a question in. If Ryan Clough was carne asada and Douglas Murray was al pastor, which would you order?
Ooh, that's
See what you've started, Jake. See
Yeah.
what you did.
Yeah. Okay, let's go over our next game. We have the Nashville Predators, 4:30.
Guys.
Yeah. 4:30 on Comcast. So it's going to be a semi-matinee kind of game. We're going to be doing this
4:30, 5 o'clock. I got 5 o'clock on mine.
5 o'clock? Maybe that's maybe that's pregame is 4:30. So we'll be live after the show. But what's your initial thoughts on Nashville right now? Their last game they lost tonight 6-3 against Philadelphia. So
yeah, I remember there was a time there was a lot of believers in Nashville, and I don't know. Nashville just doesn't see. Pekka Rinne is not the Pekka Rinne of old. He is not the same guy. I don't know what happened to him. Just
ever since that hip surgery that got infected.
Is that what it was? All I know is that I don't see the highlights of him like I used to. I don't hear his name like I used to. He used to be a guy 2-3 seasons ago that he was going to be a guy taken in the first round of fantasy.
Yeah, he was going to be like a number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, so it was somebody you could count on, and so you're just. Would you order the Thornton Picante or Marlowe mild salsa? I like that.
I like how it was Marlowe was the mild salsa.
Yes, and Gen X, if you get the chance, do me a favor, get on you because it's very funny. Go on YouTube and search Craig Ferguson salsa. It's hysterical. It's very funny.
So on your point to Pekka Rinne tonight. Mm-hmm. He faced 14 shots. Ooh. He only saved 9.
Wow.
His save percentage was .684.
Where is Nashville in the standings right now? Anyway, I don't have them in front of me.
The standings right this second.
We've been doing this for so long. How do I not have like a second laptop here that like has all this shit in front of me?
Dual monitors. That's how I go.
Lazy bastard.
So Nashville has 52 games played, has 56 points. They are currently in the second wild card spot. You have Colorado, who's played 54 games. They've got 58 points, and they occupy the first wild card spot.
Okay. So either way, they're on the outside looking in a very tough division. I feel it's a really winnable game. I think I think we can win that one and then probably lose to Chicago, and they go 2-2 on the trip and get back home and try to take Calgary and Arizona. I think it's a winnable game, but I got to tell you, man, I got a whole new respect for Nashville after hearing their fans at the All-Star game, man. that was pretty awesome, man.
They were pretty classy,
Yeah,
and that punch was just awesome. So yeah, I think I agree with AJ. I think it's pretty winnable, and if you can get the win in Nashville and not have the pressure to have a win to stay 500 against Chicago, that'd be great for the Sharks. Going into that Chicago game with the least amount of pressure is probably the best, because then you're not, tighten on the stick and you're not squeezing so hard and trying to get goals against that team that will just eat you alive if you make a mistake. So, hey, if they go 1-0-1 against Nashville and Chicago, I'd be happy with that. Grab a point from Chicago and get the 2 points from Nashville, and I think you're good to go and you're golden and successful road trip in my book. If you lose to Nashville, then you put a lot of pressure on yourself to have to win that game in Chicago, and you've got Anaheim, who, while they will beat the LA Kings and bring the Kings back to the pack a little bit, they're starting to nip on the heels, and they have a game in hand. So it's not, it's the Sharks are not in the clear yet at all. They're still very much in the pack and in the hunt. But
Anaheim's coming.
Anaheim's coming, and it's in the Sharks' hands. If they want to get to the playoffs, they have the opportunity. They're not relying on anybody to lose. They're firmly entrenched, and it's up to them. So if they have a good February, let's say they get 60% percentage points out of this month, be happy with that, and I think that gets you through a pretty rough stretch. That's kind of my take on it. And you know what? Let's not have the February from hell, because that's kind of where we dropped off last year.
Yeah. And finally, they touched on it tonight during the intermission with Kurz and Mr. Hahn about the trade deadline and where the Sharks are positioned now. Obviously, Torres and Smith have been waived and sent down, so that frees up what they're approximating to be about $3.3 million. And
I heard trade deadline day, they're going to be hovering in the $5 million range for amount of cap space they have per general fan.
Now, this is the thing that popped into my head. They need defensive depth. I keep on hearing Kurz beating the drum about a left winger. So I'm kind of like,
I don't know what I don't know what he's on, but as far as
I think we have a left winger that can play. He's in the AHL right now. His name is Barclay Goodrow. If we need to bring him up, we can. Now, granted, he's not a $4.5 million winger. I still feel that we saw what happened to this team when one of the top four defensemen was out. I believe the record was something about around 1-7. They sucked. I mean, granted, it wasn't it wasn't great going when Couture was out either. But those games without the top four defensemen, holy crap, day and night. So for me, if you've got $4 million to shore up and get a number 3 defenseman, number 4 defenseman,
5.6 million per general manager on deadline day.
Okay, so I mean, I keep on hearing Roman Polak's name being bandied about.
That's not a bad option.
No, it's not a bad option at all. But I just go to that. No, if they're going to spend any money and look for any kind of a piece, for me, it has to, for the love of Christ, it's got to be for defensive depth, a 3-4 guy. And let's be honest, that if for some reason, now picture this, if for some reason they lose somebody in March for 5-6 games, they lose Braun or something. They need somebody that can slide into that spot, even if it's Dylan and you've got another guy, but somebody who is going to be a 3-4 guy. That's what they need. $5 million, you can find a 3-4 guy. But I think the other thing is you slide into the playoffs. If things aren't necessarily going your way in the game 1 or game 2, and you need to make a kind of a drastic switch, if you can find a number 3 defenseman who's going to be solid, that gives you the opportunity, or at least the option, to put Burns at forward and shake things up. I know, just calm the crap down for a second, but I'm saying it gives you the option to shake it up for a game, to kind of pull a Dustin Byfuglien thing, but it gives you that, at least no one has ever looked at having more options in front of them and being, yeah, this is too much. No. You want as many options as possible to try to, to be able to work with. So at least if that gives him the option to move Burns, because Burns, as it stands, yeah, granted, went to the All-Star game, like the worst fucking plus minus on the team, and granted that's not the end all be all, but it's a barometer.
Yeah,
so
it is.
He's got an awful plus minus. When did he have his best plus minus? When he was at forward, plus 26. Right now I think he's at what, minus 10, minus 11, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's a pretty big swing. So at least it gives you the opportunity that you can put him there just to shake shit up for a game or two. It just, like I said, just having options is a good thing.
Yeah, somebody brought it up. The Sharks' preferred trade partner is the Carolina Hurricanes. You've got 3 guys that you could potentially pick up from there. John Michael Lyles, I know he's kind of at the end of his rope, but he is definitely an option. You have James Wisniewski. I don't know what his cap is like and how many years he's got left for. Ron Hainsey. Those would kind of be the guys that I would think that they would allow to let go for a pretty cheap price. You gotta also look at the currency the Sharks are dealing with. You've got a 2nd round pick, 2 fourths, a 5th, a 6th, and 3 7ths. That's not a lot to work with. And teams.
I was going to say, in Gen X pointing at it says, you mean the Sharks yet again need to train for something that they haven't been able to develop? How shocking. Which is exactly it. And when Baker was talking about the Ducks on Tuesday night, he was talking about all the options that their cupboard is very full on goalies and defense.
Who, the Sharks?
No, the Ducks. He was when they were playing in Anaheim, and they were saying how stocked they were, and that they may be in the if things continue the way they are for the Ducks, where they're on this big upward trend and they're now into a playoff or on the precipice of a playoff spot, then it's the case of they would be willing to move something because they have all these pieces. And it's just, oh, yeah, that's right. The Ducks, they have everything the Sharks should have.
Yeah. Wisniewski's out for the year with a torn ACL. I just looked at their website, and their stats page doesn't have the little 2 asterisks that say he's on injured reserve, but he could just be deactivated. So I don't know that for sure, and I don't know what his injury status is, but those were just kind of the names I just bandied about. Yeah, I think you go for a depth defenseman, but you don't want to trade any of the prospect pool at this point. I think me and Ian have kind of rounded through them, and this is the best crop we've had in a long time. I don't think you really want to mess with them. They're pretty thin on defensive prospects as it is, so you're not going to want to trade any of that. So really, you're looking at maybe moving that 2nd or one of those fourths, and that's not going to get you a lot. That might get you a Scott Hannon-esque player.
Dear God.
But I'm just saying, that kind of a depth defenseman, I don't think you can trade anything else to get something more. I mean, maybe you could dangle Ben Smith, but you know what? He hasn't shown any progress. Hasn't shown anything. And you're not
maybe Carpenter. Maybe I just.
Yeah, maybe a Carpenter. He's 25 years old, so you figure he's kind of maxed out at what his potential could be, but you might sucker a GM into thinking, oh, he's got some great totals right now. He might be a good player.
Well, it's just that, but it's Carpenter. It's like, well, okay, he's done decent under Sommer's system. So if we put him in our system, he'll do much, much better because, Sommer with the most wins in AHL history. And with how many cups again? Oh, that's right. Yeah, 0. So either way, if the Sharks make any type of a move between now and the deadline, I would hope it's something to shore up that blue line.
I think we're in agreement there. I think
Yeah.
that's what you got to go for. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. And
Marlo for Giordano. Oh, here, hold on. Oh man, that was a really funny trade. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. I think we've gone a little over an hour, which it was so funny. It's man, there's only the two of us who are going to be able to fill. Believe me, we can talk, bitches.
Yeah, and I think we rounded out all the good topics and kind of came up with some good ideas and stuff. So, yeah.
I have no idea who's going to be here after the Nashville game, but it should be fun.
Yeah, I'll definitely be here and I'll be ready to go. So if you guys, again, I will throw up the page, the be a part of the show. Again, you can always reach us using the hashtag Pucknology After Dark at any one of our Twitter handles. We'd love to talk your guys' questions on the air. And thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed already, please use the little subscribe button below. And that helps us out and helps us get the word out. And for AJ Strong, Eric Landy, and Puck Guy,
dude, I thought you were gonna go full on Bartles and James, and we thank you for your support.
This is not a paid endorsement. Anyhow, have a good night, everybody. Take care.